Alright, hi chat. I got something special to show y'all today. Hold up, where is it? Ta-da! I've got a completely new scene, specifically for this game. I was told that the old layout was making it a little challenging to read some of the cards. So I threw this together in like 3 minutes. It still has all the layers from the old scene. Like I literally hold on, like I literally just copied the old layout and then bashed it with a hammer until it worked. But hopefully it's gonna be a little easier to read things today. Also, I posted my go live post before I noticed Streamplace was not going live. So there's only 2 of them today. I know this is the 3rd Demon Bluff stream in a row, but in my defense, I'm sleepy and I love this game. So take that. Hold up, let me lock that so that I don't have to lock everything so that I get rid of the stupid annoying rectangle on my OBS display. There it is. I know, reading in an Amada stream, what is this? Yeah, chat needs to be able to read the cards in this game. Now, the advance, as we learned last time, this toggle is still here. It does not work. I probably won't be doing deck building just because it's bugged and I prefer endless until all those bugs are fixed. But there we go. I still wish there was a way to have that not pop up. We've got the Ba, who's causing this to happen. We've got a minion who does nothing. We've got a puppeteer who did create a puppet because these 2 numbers are disagreeing. Let's see what's going on here. Plague Doctor. Well, that certainly undermines what you're trying to do. 2 cards away from closest evil, says the Hunter. You actually got this demo, so you'll play it while I play? Hell yeah. Yeah, I love how my community has just all started playing this game. It's great. We've got a Slayer. Who knows if he's gonna work? Okay, that's a little suspicious. That's not right. Now this guy seems pretty sure it's this guy, so I'm big sus of this Plague Doctor. All started playing, like, at least 3 of them. At least 3 of you now have got the game since I started playing it. You are 3 cards away from a corrupted character. That is interesting. 6 is good. You don't have the time for another new game? Closest evil equidistant. That is an interesting thing for you to be saying. That is an even more interesting thing for you to be saying. And that is an even more interesting thing for you to be saying. Okay, so here's something I don't think I've gotten to bring up in this game. And that's, there comes a point where a sentence becomes objectively true, and I think this is one of them. Because think about this from the knitter's perspective. If it was lying, why would it say something this absurd? And unless this got changed in a recent update, I think the answer is it wouldn't. So I think this has to be true, because it's just that absurd of a thing to say. Which means I think this is the evil team. And then this is gonna say you're corrupted if I'm right. 7 is evil, 3 is corrupted. That kind of just looks right. This, let me Plague Doctor check this Plague Doctor with the other. What do you mean one is evil, one is corrupted? You cannot be both of those things, Plague Doctor. That's not how the game works. I think we found the evil team. Wow. That's certainly a puzzle to start with. All right, we've got the Ba again. We've got the Shaman, so we're going to have a double claim. And we've got my chat redeeming Hydrate. God damn it. All right. Oh. We have a... Oh, let me lean out of the way. We have a night cycle behind my head. Which means this is a lycanthrope. This has to be a lycanthrope because there's only 2 cards in the game that cause night cycles to happen. And it's clearly not a Lilith, so we have a lycanthrope. And a judge. And a bard. I need to move down a bit. Nah, I can just lean out of the way when the night cycle happens. Night happens every 4 flips, so you can change Lilith, you can fix her. Oh boy. Since we're gonna get next flip is gonna be night, and that's gonna refresh these abilities. So let's just. You think there's evil there, and you think this is the truth, and you presumably then think 5 is corrupted. Wait. Why would 5 be corrupted? With what corruption is 5 corrupted, Bard? Flip this. So if we have not found the lycanthrope, it will have just turned. So this is allegedly corrupted. This could be the shaman pair. This is allegedly good. Between 4, 5, and 7, I'm strongly inclined to... Wait, but you're saying there's an outcast. Hidden outcast could be drunk. Hidden outcast is the lycanthrope because we have the night cycle. It has to be. Because there's no other reason for a night cycle to be happening. It's if you have night, it's either Lilith or lycanthrope. So any of these guys could still be a lycanthrope. I kind of like the idea that 4 is actually the lycanthrope and this is telling the truth. The alternative is that this is just evil. Let's see what 7 has to say. 1 card away from closest evil. That they're planning on it. I presume they're planning on adding more nighttime characters. Okay, well, these are all about to... So this is going to say it's a lie. Okay, I trust you. Use you to check the same information. You also think that. So I think this is the shaman pair, and these are both good. It would make you the lycanthrope, and you a minion. The problem is that would make... Well, let's... Wait, no, we still have this. Check this. You think false? Okay, I believe you suddenly. Way too late for you to get first? Yeah. Second bard. Now, once again, I ask you, what corrupted character are you 3 away from? Oh, we did take damage, which means we do have a lycanthrope. Which means this is nonsense. Wait, but you said 7 or 8 true. Because this is the lycanthrope. Or this is the werewolf. Well, let me see what you think. Yeah, you think 6 is lying? I agree. Yeah, villagers are good, outcasts are good usually, demons are evil, minions are associated with the demons and also evil. That is correct. There's also corruption, which can cause villagers that are good to lie, but we don't have any of that in this village, which is why these two are so immediately suspicious. I think these two are in some combination shaman and ba. This guy is just right. This, I think. Okay, I'm stabbing that because it's always evil. I think this is specifically the werewolf. Yep. Which means you were actually telling the truth when you were flipped. Yeah, because if I go to the flip order, the first 4 happened before the lycanthrope flips. So it was a lycanthrope, which is good when this card was flipped, and then it immediately turned into a werewolf. Okay, so you're shaman or ba, and then you're the other one. Okay. Lycans can never appear evil. That, yeah, lycans, because you can't disguise as a lycanthrope. Because the lycanthrope itself is already disguising. Yeah, a lycanthrope that's still a lycanthrope will always be good. You just have to know. You just have to find that it's a lycanthrope, which is really hard when it's good, unless you have like a druid. Okay, here we have another night cycle. This time it's because we have Lilith, who is going to kill people at night, and then just a regular minion and bombardier. So shouldn't be that hard. Gemcrafter says 2 is good. I'm gonna take you at face value and flip this. Actually, no. I'm gonna. Okay, well, unless we find another one of these, that's just true. Okay, this is a little suspicious. This has to have been good because the evil's killed counter did not increment when it got killed. Lilith can kill other evils, but she cannot kill herself, and she cannot kill knights. You're good. Okay. Original Baker is always good. And this got turned into a Baker, so it was also good. I think it's just both Jester. I think I just Jester check that, which is always 3 goods. So not only are you two disagreeing with each other, but this is straight up impossible, and this is just not true. Okay, it was just both Jesters. What were you? You were a witness. Okay, fair enough. I always love when the bakers actually do something. Okay. We've got a Ba hiding this outcast, a minion who's not doing anything, a Chancellor who's creating another outcast. I need to keep in mind that this puzzle could be bugged because the Chancellor is severely bugged at the moment. But I think we actually just only have 2 outcasts here, and they should both be real. That is an interesting thing for you to be claiming. That is an even more interesting thing for you to be claiming. This could be a doppelganger, though. Druid. 1 or 5 is a Chancellor. Well, let's see if this is an outcast. It doesn't look like one. Let's see if this is a second Jester. Well, one of these can be a doppelganger. They can't both be doppelgangers. Okay. We have 3 Jesters. Something not so above board's happening here. There's a Rambler. And a Dreamer. Well, I'm going to assume this Rambler has to be good. Yeah, because there's no second Ramblers. There's no second Rambler. Okay. Oh god, how do I want to do this? This could be a chancellor who created a doppelganger, and then this is real. It could also be a chancellor who created a drunk, and this is not real. And then one of these is also not real. I kind of like the idea that this one is real, and then these are both evil. And then this is Chancellor Drunk. That would make this the Ba, this the minion. The Ba can't double claim a card that's real, but it can be in a double claim if none of the things it's in a double claim with are real. This solution works without even using any abilities. Let's use this. I'm expecting to see Chancellor. Well, I'm expecting Chancellor and Drunk here. So I should see Jester and Chancellor. No, I see 7 shut up. Understandable, you're good. I kind of failed to consider that one. The other thing is we don't have any corruption unless we have a Drunk. Because we don't have a Plague Doctor. You know, I don't have a real Jester to check. I think I want to just check the Druid against itself. And 2 things that are never outcasts. There is Rambler. That is true information. So it is very hard to get information out of a Jester you know is lying unless you do this. Yeah, that's not... Okay, let's try this Jester on the same 3 cards. You're actually talking. So in order to make this Jester true, we have evil, evil, good, and evil. But then these 2 would not be able to disagree with each other. So you're evil. And I think you're evil and specifically Ba. Yes. We do have a drunk, which is this. We do not have 2 pairs of evil. You're the minion. And you are the chancellor who created the drunk. Wow. That was not that bad. Like that looked very this is fine, but that was really not that bad of a puzzle. You just had to... I figured it out before I even used any of my abilities. Just because the logic on the double claims sometimes is enough. Oh god, we have a Puka and a Plague Doctor in a village this small? Okay, well that's objectively false. That is objectively true, which means neither of these can be the Puka because this is not corrupted. This is telling the truth. Slayer. This could be the Puka. I kind of like the idea that this is the Puka. Especially because all of these really look like villagers. And we don't have any disguising outcasts, so you're lying. You couldn't kill number 7. Could be number 6. Number 6 is a Plague Doctor. One is evil. 5, 6, or 7. Well, that's a little hard to believe. Okay. You couldn't kill 7. You could be corrupted. You are corrupted. Thank you, Plague Doctor. I was right taking the Slayer shot. I didn't really consider that this man hit specifically the Slayer. Easy. That was a surprisingly easy puzzle with the Puka because the Plague Doctor canceled out one of its corruptions. Okay, we have a Puka and a Twin Minion and a Plague Doctor and a Doppelganger. Okay. Yeah, I figured this out minutes ago. You want to know now? Yep. Hunter who says 1. Knight who can't die, except I'm not going to test that theory with 3 corruptions unaccounted for. Judge. Gemcrafter who accuses 2 of being good. Oracle who says 1 or 6 is the twin minion. That seems possible. Second Knight. That could still be real. In fact, we have to have a doppelganger pair. Plague Doctor. Second Hunter, who is... This could both be real if it's both knights. And Confessor, who is good. And in fact, this Hunter is specifically accusing this knight now. But then this Oracle is accusing that Hunter. It could be that it's one Hunter and then this Hunter is actually just pointing at the other one. That actually seems very reasonable with this Oracle's information, so let's build that world for a second. That would make this has to be the doppelganger pair. Now, where do I put a puka in this village? There's nowhere to put a puka. Yeah, there's nowhere to put a puka in this village. So this is not the solution. Because, let me explain a little. If the puka's here, then this is corrupted, but it's telling the truth. If the puka's here, then this is corrupted and it's telling the truth. So the puka is in neither of those places. Okay, let's start with what we know. The Plague Doctor's real. Okay, so next world is it's both knights. This one has to be the puka, I think, in order to corrupt that. Or it's the minion and it's actually correct. 2 is good. 2 is good has to be corrupted in this world. And it has to be specifically Plague Doctor corrupt. No, it doesn't. This could be the puka, and then this could be real. I think I'm going to Plague Doctor check 4. 4 is not corrupted. That makes 4 evil in this world, but then you are saying nonsense because the Plague Doctor hit you. And the puka hit these 2. And then this knight's actually just real. This is always good. And this is telling the truth. Okay, this works. We mark this. That's one possible answer. I do still have this. Well, hold on. Let me see if I can test this theory. This judge will say this confessor is lying. This judge does say this confessor is lying. I kind of want to stab this knight now. I think I'm going to stab 2, actually. That is the twin minion. And if that's the twin minion, then I think this has to be the puka. It does. Maybe there was another world. Solved completely again. And yeah, this one was specifically the doppelganger because this one got corrupted and the doppelganger can't get corrupted because it's not a villager. Okay. Oh. We've got a night cycle undermining the Ba trying to hide this lycanthrope again. We've also got a shaman. Dreamer. Enlightened who says equidistant. Enlightened who says clockwise. Okay, that's a very interesting thing for you to say. Lycanthrope or enlightened. One of those is here. The other is not. I think one of these enlightened, it could just be that these are both real enlightens. If you're saying equidistant, but you're saying clockwise, that would imply it is specifically 4 and 7. Well, there's no corruption. I was gonna say you could be a drunk. You are a lycanthrope. That is objectively true. So let's check this theory. Oh, yeah, that's what you get for claiming night in a village with no corruption. Three is a real enlightened. I believe that. Player who could not kill number 4. But it has to be 4 in order to make this work, because you could be a werewolf. Check this. Slayer or Ba. I think this is Ba. It is. And I think therefore that this is not Slayer. It is. And then these were both just real enlightens. Fair enough. I am probably the Dreamer's #1 fan at this point. Okay, we possibly have a bugged puzzle here, which is going to be spicy. We've got a Ba, a Chancellor, Plague Doctor, a Bombardier, and who knows. It's not a lycanthrope because we don't have nighttime. Chancellor is 1 card away from closest evil. Interesting thing for you to say. Fortune Teller. Plague Doctor. 2 evils adjacent. This feels like a Chancellor who created this Plague Doctor to me. This feels like a lover who's telling a truth about this Chancellor who created this Plague Doctor. That is the original Baker. That is a scout who's backing up what this poet is saying, but interestingly did not get turned into a baker. Okay, so these are both real. Actually, not necessarily. One of these outcasts could be fake. Okay, so let me think about this scout. What reason does this scout have to have not been turned into a baker? It could be the Chancellor. It could be the Ba. It cannot be a doppelganger. It cannot be a lycanthrope. It could be a drunk. But no matter what, this scout is not telling the truth, which means neither is this poet. We only have 2 evils. We've got 2 evils, but we could have up to 4 lies between the Plague Doctor and a possible... Well, if we have a drunk, then either we don't have a Plague Doctor or we don't have a Bombardier. But one thing I can say for certain is that the Chancellor is not 1 card away from the Ba. We do not have a pair of evils here. Is there a world where is there a world where this lover is correct? Where these are both evil? No, because then we actually have too many liars. So I don't think this lover is ever telling the truth. If I try to make this lover correct, these have to both be evil. But these also both have to be lying. One of them could be a drunk, but there's no way they can both be lying. Because the way that we would get the 4th lie would be a Plague Doctor corruption, but in this world, this is not a Plague Doctor, so it didn't cause a corruption. So this is also a lie. I still like the idea that Chancellor created this, and then this is just true, and then one of these is evil and the other is drunk. But then where's the Plague Doctor corruption? This could be a Plague Doctor corruption. And then it's just these three. I mean, we've found the evil team. What's the goal of this game? There are evil characters, find and execute them. Okay, so between these three, we have 2 evils and 1 corruption. Well, hold up. If we have a drunk, then one of these outcasts is evil. Because actually, no, I can't use that logic because the Chancellor's bugged. These could be 2 real outcasts and we have a drunk. I'm gonna check this. You're gonna say evil false, which makes me think you're corrupted. 4 is not corrupted. Okay. How do I make this information true? Because if this is not evil and it's not corrupted because it is evil and this is corrupted, but again, we just don't have enough. We don't have enough liars to make that real, unless this is not a Plague Doctor and this is corrupted. But if this is not a Plague Doctor, then this is a drunk. Or this is not a Plague Doctor, this is drunk, and this is evil. Yeah, this game is free, Crealia. You, have fun playing this for the next several hours. Yeah, okay, let me just think about this scout again. Well, hold up. This scout is never real. So I think I'm just gonna start by stabbing it for info. The scout is drunk. Okay. Well, that I think means this has to be evil. That's Ba. That makes me think maybe this is not a Plague Doctor, but then why is this lying? But if this is evil, then why is this lying? Okay, I gotta remember, this could be a real Plague Doctor. We could have 3 outcasts, because the Chancellor does not work correctly in the current build of the game. It's supposed to add 1 outcast, but in reality, it's adding just infinite outcasts, as far as I can tell, in the current build of the game. So I need to consider a world where these 3 outcasts are all real. The real Plague Doctor corrupted this, and this is evil. Correct. And these were, in fact, just 3 real outcasts because the Chancellor is causing this to not work. Little spicy. I do actually really like these bugged puzzles. I hope that they add something that causes this kind of high outcast concentration, but like for real. Okay, we've got a Ba hiding whatever this is and a shaman. It's not a lycanthrope because there's no nighttime. Knitter saying 1 pair of evil. Architect saying both sides equally evil. That is possible. But these are not both possible unless it's specifically these 2, except this is... I was gonna say this is objectively true, but it could be a drunk. So that this could still be a lie. But I don't know if you say... No, you don't say this if you're lying. Usually. No, it can. Never mind. I have seen that before. It's rare, but it does happen. 5 is a real architect who's backing up what 2 is saying. So I think that's the shaman pair. And doppelganger? Okay. How the hell does this happen? So, two of these architects have to be real. No, because okay. I know how this happens. This is evil. This is a doppelganger. This is the shaman pair. But then this is evil and telling the truth. So that's not the case. Okay, the only way to get these architects, because the two of the architects have to be real. We have a shaman. The only way to get a third one, yeah, evil always lies asterisk. Unless it's specifically the puppet, but it's not, because we don't have a puppeteer. The evils always lie. There's also corruption as a mechanic, but unless we have a drunk, we have no corruption. Okay. I found a way to make this work. No, because then we have a double. No. There's only two ways we can get a real triple claim. The only way to get a triple claim is real shaman clone doppelganger. And two of these architects have to be real because of the shaman. Because there's no other double claim to be the shaman pair. The only way to get a third character agreeing with that is if both of them are corrupted and the third one's evil. Or they're just all telling the truth and it's a doppelganger. I think these are all telling the truth. This is a doppelganger to make this evil and this is evil. And this is telling the truth and this is telling the truth. I'm going to stab this. That's Ba. Okay, that was a spicy number of architects all saying the same thing. But it wasn't that bad. Oh, good lord. We've got a Puka causing all sorts of corruption, a witch preventing the last card from being flipped, a wretch who's gonna confuse everyone, and a rambler who's gonna have people tell him to shut up. Dreamer. There's been no game audio this whole time. God damn it. I forgot. This is one of those games I have to manually set the audio channel every time. How did nobody notice for 40 minutes? Whoops. Thank you, Willian. Okay, so let's keep flipping. Night, I'm not gonna test that theory in Apuka Village. That's true, there isn't much audio in this. Wretch. Wretch is always good, but always registers as evil. This is not necessarily always true, because this could be Apuka corrupting this. But you're telling Six to shut up. Yeah, too focused on puzzle. I had the audio. You're also telling Six to shut up, but your ability does still work, I think. Yeah, they only tell you to shut up instead of sharing their info. Their ability still works. Yeah, Wretch cannot be disguised as. It says it in here. Because they always register as evil, so you can't find them if they're actually evil versus if they're real, you just can't tell. Keep flipping. Witch is 3 cards away from closest evil. That seems excessively plausible. Right. Wretched evil kill them? No, that's not how that works. Okay. So, first thought. This is probably just all good. I'm pretty sure this has to be all goods. Because how do we get this many liars? Actually, no, we could have liars here. This doesn't have to be all good. This would have to be, let's try to make this Rambler evil. No, we just can't. Actually, no, it is possible. Ramblers, witch, hookah, corrupted from the puka. No. No, it's impossible to... Okay, so this is always a real Rambler that is good. It means these two are both telling the truth. And the truth is that 6 should shut up. Now, I have to keep in mind the possibility that this alchemist actually did cure a corruption either here, here, or here. This looks excessively true in this world. Which means we've got some very unreliable info on this side of the board. This is something I've never done, but the wretch, if the wretch is picked by the dreamer will say cabbage. So let's try this. I forgot that doesn't work. I forgot. It's bugged. That's another bug. You just can't do that right now. That's usually the most powerful thing you can do to confirm a dreamer, but unfortunately it's bugged at the moment and it just doesn't let you. You're supposed to be able to, the game is just corrupted. I think, let's try this. Scout or witch, which makes me think that this is actually the puka and this is the witch. But hold up, let's try to make this dreamer... How do I make this dreamer tell the truth? Hold up. In order to make this dreamer tell the truth, I think this has to be evil. In fact, I think this has to be evil even if it's telling the truth, I think this has to be evil. If it's lying, I think this still has to be evil. The only way... Hold up. Let's try to make this real. To make this real... Well, no, there's not enough room on the board for this to be real. In order for the witch to be 3 cards away from the closest evil, it would have to be these 2. So I think... I have to keep in mind this dreamer could also be corrupted. Well, let's try and figure out if the dreamer is telling the truth. The scout or witch? The scout could be real but corrupted. So let's go with the real but corrupted theory. The problem is the only way this would get corrupted would also corrupt this. So the scout is never corrupted while the dreamer is telling the truth. Oh, that is really interesting. So that means that scout... Okay. I think I'm gonna try stabbing this knight. Oh, right, alchemist. The alchemist could have cured it. In fact, the alchemist would have cured it because it's telling the Rambler to shut up. Thank you for reminding me the alchemist exists. Wait, so this is just always evil then? Okay, that's the puka. Which means the alchemist did cure this corruption. And now we're in a bit of a spicy situation. Wait, scout or witch? Okay. One of 2 things is true here. This is the witch or this is the witch. I'm going to stab the knight because if I'm wrong, I didn't stab the knight. Okay. Wow, the dreamer was actually just telling the truth. Okay, fair enough. Oh, good lord. A puka and a bugged chancellor and a plague doctor and a bombardier. That is a very bold thing for this hunter to be saying, but it's very possible. Plague Doctor. 7's a real gem crafter. We'll see how real that seems when we get there. Dreamer, my beloved. 3 or 4 is a chancellor. Well, it would have to be 3. So that is a bold accusation. That's not true, but you could be corrupted. Interesting. And then there's our bombardier. So these two are both real. Okay, how do I want to do this? Well, immediately this is lying. So let's see if it's corrupted. It is corrupted, allegedly, which means 7 is evil. Well, let's test your theory, Mr. Plague Doctor. Correct. Now, this is saying 3 is good, which means 3 is not good. Okay. Thank you, Plague Doctor. The Plague Doctor actually hit this, which is why this was lying. And then the Puka hit that, and then the Puka couldn't hit the Bombardier because it's not a villager. Okay. Oh. We have a Lycanthrope and a Puka and a Witch, which means we do have a Night Cycle behind me. Missed the end of the game before this one, so I was confused why you killed the Puka in the top left twice. Was there a Puka in the top left twice? That's kind of funny. Okay, so statistically 50-50 on revealing the Lycanthrope. Okay. We do have a Witch, so I should probably flip into the Empress information. Okay, you are talking about the entire back half of the board. Okay, these are not both real. I think I'm gonna not flip 4. Knight who can't die. Okay, and I can't flip this because Witch. Well, okay. So let's try and figure this out. These are not both telling the truth. Neither of them are pointing at something that is obviously an outcast. Interestingly, I think if this is the werewolf, I think it has to be lying. I mean, obviously, yeah, if it's the werewolf, of course it's lying. But I think if we have a werewolf, if we did not flip up the Lycanthrope on this side of the board, then I think... Okay, let's try to make this knitter telling the truth. How do I make this knitter telling the truth? Well, this Empress is extremely... Okay. Let's go with this world. Real, evil. Good, good. Wait. Because you're the outcast in your own information. And those are all villagers. Let's mark you like that. And then we don't have a werewolf. I like this idea. Wait, but then where's the Puka corruption? Okay, yeah, this never works because this would have to be... Well, no, this actually could be the Puka. This could be the Puka, not corrupting that. I'm gonna stab this, and it could be the Puka. Holy shit. It corrupted this, but it couldn't because it's a Lycanthrope. And it corrupted this, but I don't care because I couldn't reveal it. Wow. All of that just from trying to make this knitter tell the truth. That was a very spicy first 3 cards I flipped up. Got a Lilith, a minion, and a wretch. Means we do have a night cycle because Lilith. That's a wretch. That is just true. Closest evil clockwise. I believe that. We're only going to get one Lilith here. 8's a real judge. That seems real to me. Could be both of you. 7's a real gem crafter. That... Wait a minute. Okay, current theory. Minion, Lilith. Would that work? That makes this work. Let's just assume that that's true, and that makes this work. If this is real, you will think the alchemist is lying. You think the alchemist is lying? I hit the wrong button on that. I think you are Lilith. And I think you are Minion. Correct. Lilith, Witch, and Wretch. This is remarkably similar to the last puzzle. Well, there's no corruption, so let's test that theory. Okay, you're good. 1 or 5 is a witch. You are accusing specifically 5 of being a witch. That is a bold statement. Dreamer. 8 is good. Well, thanks, Lilith. Thanks for confirming that 4 is good. Have the night again to be sure? Okay, I'll do it. 1 is a real knight. That is objectively true. Judge. Right. Okay. So... Well, hold up. 1 and 5 are both telling the truth. So, you're lying in a board with no corruption. Goodbye. Let's see what you think about Lilith. That is true. So it's either the Dreamer or it's 7. I think I want to try this. Oracle or Witch. Well, Oracle is not there. But neither is Witch, so you're the Witch, actually. I love the Dreamer. It's really tricky to get good info out of their info. It's a good who only tells half the truth. So it's really fun to try and extract the correct info out of a Dreamer. Okay, we've got Ba, Chancellor, Bombardier, and who knows. This looks like it'll be a completely above board Chancellor. Well, there's a Bombardier. 5 is actually a drunk. That is really powerful. Because regardless of whether this is true, for a character to mention a role, I think it has to be present. 1 is evil, 1, 4, or 7. It's probably 4 or 7. In fact, it's probably 7. You're 1 card away from closest evil. Well, maybe it's 3 then, actually. 3 away from a corrupted character. That is what you would say if you were drunk. Second Empress, who says 1, 5, or 7. So, okay. Gemcrafter, who says 2 is good. So we don't have enough liar. Okay. Had Marionette mentioned before it's been introduced? That's not even a role, so... You mean puppet? Think you screen grabbed it? It could have been pointed... Was it a... Wait, hold up. Okay, I gotta see this screenshot now. Because that's not a roll. That is not a roll. So possibly that is a work in progress thing that's partially in the code. Okay, let's go with current theory. Drunk, real. Chancellor. Ah, real. Yep. I still want to see the screenshot though. All right, we've got Lilith, Minion, Witch, Plague Doctor, or Doppelganger. Good lord. That is a lot of face-up rolls in this deck. Which means, of course, we do have a Night Cycle because Lilith. 8 or 9 is a minion, so I'm going to avoid flipping those. Oh no, we only get one Lilith stab, so we can't make Lilith kill an evil. Knight. Or Knight. Judge. Good lord, brain. Confessor, who's good. Sorry, my bad. I am corrupted, apparently, if I think 2 is a knight. Misk Media? Okay, I gotta see this damn screenshot. Yeah, it's claiming Marionette. I wonder if that's like a UK localization thing? It could be. Got a Slayer, allegedly. I forgot to use the Judge before night. Plague Doctor. Jester. Jester. Good lord. I wonder if that's a like a UK localization of the puppet. Or if it's just a new role. It does call puppet. Okay, so who knows what that oracle's on about then. Maybe that's a new role that's being worked on. Do you remember if I'd imagine that was it has to have been lying because that just isn't a role. No, it could have been telling the truth about a wretch. But that is a weird screenshot to see an oracle claiming Marionette, because that is just not a role that is in the game. You think it was lying? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay. Here's one thing I can say confidently. One of these jesters is actually... No. One of these jesters could be real. I think I'm going to take a Slayer shot at this one, though. Well. You killed evil at number 8, so you're good. Let's see if you think this is... Well, no, this is always true. It's saying true. I shouldn't have done that, because now that I think about it, I think it says that even if... Well, no, we know it's true. So, yeah. So this is good. 8 or 9 as a minion is true. Well, this is 3 goods. So let's try this. 1 evil. That is not true. Goodbye, Lilith. Where's our Plague Doctor corruption? It's either here or there is no Plague Doctor corruption. Make them say something before you kill them? That is a good point. I think I can still use this, though. Do this. It says 1. It's really hard to get info out of a jester you know is lying. Yeah, you can use abilities on dead characters now. Okay, so let me think about. Wait, I don't think this is a plague doctor. Yeah, this is not a plague doctor. So what? So this was the doppelganger, or either this was the doppelganger. No, this was the doppelganger. The Lilith killed the goddamn doppelganger. Okay, that's a great way to hide that this plague doctor is not real. Okay, Lilith's twin minion shaman doppelganger. This is going to be an interesting puzzle. Slayer. Druid. Slayer. You think there's a doppelganger in here? I am inclined to believe you. Poet who says Lilith is one card away from the closest evil. That seems exceptionally possible. Druid. Let's check the same 3 cards. You're agreeing, which means maybe this is the doppelganger in its own information. Check this. Okay, that or it's one of the Slayers, but then why are you both agreeing? Because you're the shaman pair. So this is the doppelganger pair, this is the shaman pair. No corruption knight. That's what I thought. 6 is a real knight. That's what I thought. No evils adjacent to me. That's what I thought. Okay, that was a goofy puzzle. I was expecting something a lot harder than that. Okay, Puka, Minion, Doppelganger, and Lycanthrope, which means we do have Nighttime behind me. Right side more evil, says Architect, who is on the right side. That is very possible if Puka's way over here. Wait, but if Puka's way over here, then this is lying, but this could just be the minion. Yeah, the difficulty does vary between completely free and oh dear god. Yep. Yeah, there are occasionally 50-50s. That does happen, which is why you're allowed 1 stab. You do occasionally run into 50-50s. Or puzzles that otherwise need you to just take a stab to solve them. That does happen sometimes. Usually it's your fault for using the targetable abilities wrong, but it does sometimes happen in villages with no targetable abilities as well. Well, we have no targetable abilities, so let's just flip this and hope we hit the Lycanthrope. Okay, well... Doppelganger? Either both evil or... Minion Puka Corrupted Puka is also possible. But then why are you... Minion Puka Corrupted Puka. Now that's suspicious. Yeah, that is how that works. If you stab a good, you take 5 damage. If you stab a drunk, you take 2 damage. If you stab a knight who's corrupted, you take 9 damage. 5 was affected by an evil. That is not possible. Three or 5 is a minion. I kind of believe that. Okay. Lycanthrope is in these 4. 6 is a real witness. I could be corrupted. That is true. There's also the Bombardier, who just blows up your mind if you stab them. Yep. Hold up. This has to be the doppelganger pair. Can both of these alchemists be real? It's possible that the alchemists are both real, and I hate that. And the way that that works is that Puka, out of range of both of them, lycanthrope. So it is possible that both of these alchemists are real and telling the truth. Well, okay, one of them would have to be a doppelganger, but that's indistinguishable from real. I think I want to use this on a whole bunch of not double claims. No, because the lycanthrope could be anywhere. Okay, okay, I gotta think about this one. Now, I need to consider the possibility that it could just be these two. And then it failed to corrupt the alchemist because you can't. But then why are you lying? And you're not a werewolf. I think I'm just gonna stab 5 for information. No, hold up. 5 was... Oh, God. This could be a minion. Okay. Idea 1. This is the evil team. That would work, because the Puka can't corrupt a minion, and then whichever side of the alchemist it tried to corrupt is the doppelganger. That works, except for the part where you're lying. Because you have no reason to be lying. Unless doppelganger... How does that work, actually? Because the Puka tried to affect it by an evil, but it failed because it's an alchemist. Maybe that's how that works? I think I stabbed 3. It is a minion. I'm gonna try stabbing 4. I'm not super confident here, but... Wow, okay. So this is actually... Okay, I did not know that's how that worked. Yeah. Architect was the lycanthrope, so we hit him first. This was the doppelganger, who can't be corrupted, but more often than not, this is an alchemist who can't be corrupted. But it was still affected by an evil. I wonder if that's intentional behavior. Because it tried to corrupt it, but it failed. I guess that still counts as being affected by the evil, even if the effect didn't stick. I'll save this screenshot as a bug report. But it could be intentional behavior. Got a Ba hiding that and a puppeteer. Yeah. They should explain what affected by is supposed to mean. They do. Do I have a witness in here? No. But if you go into this menu for the witness, it does list all the things that are supposed to count. Druid. Knitter who says 2 pairs of evil. That is possible. Jester. Knitter who says 1 pair of evil. Wretch. Confessor who is good. I think because the alchemist being uncorruptible is relatively new in the game, I think that that's just an oversight. You think 2 is good? I think you are the Ba personally, but... okay, the only thing I can do with this druid is check itself. This druid thinks there's a wretch among these distinctly non-wretch cards, so we have no corruption. That's Ba. I'm gonna try and see if I can get a Knitter 3 here. Or a Jester 3. You think there's 3 evils. Okay. Puppeteer puppet. True. Puppeteer. Puppet. Let me see if the witness... Yeah, the witness pops up. Yeah, so this is the list of things that the witness can count as affected. This is something you kind of just learn over time. Yeah, affected by an evil means turned into a puppet by a puppeteer, corrupted by a puka or a poisoner, turned into an outcast by the chancellor, cloned by the shaman, or killed by Lilith. Those are the things that count as affected by an evil, according to the witness. And I think what happened is that it was corrupted. I think that's just an internal order of operation. Yeah, the corrupted line is attempted corruption, because here's what I think happened internally. I think, because in the current build of the game that just released, there's turned into a werewolf, which they forgot to add. Interesting. I haven't seen that before, actually. What was I about to say? Yeah, the literal most recent update that released on Monday, a couple days ago, they changed the internal order of operations, and I think they put the to prevent a corrupted alchemist from happening. So what I think happened is the board was set, the puka corrupted the alchemist, the witness saw that the alchemist was corrupted, and then the alchemist removed its own corruption. I think that's what happened internally to lead to that previous puzzle. But anyway, let's look at this puzzle. We got a Ba and a witch. And who knows? Not a lycanthrope. Dreamer. No character affected by an evil. That is objectively true. Slayer. That is objectively true and a doppelganger. Can I get some real information, please? 1 is good. Thank you for actually saying something. So that's a lie. That's what I thought. I'm gonna just try this. Okay. I didn't expect that to work, actually, but okay. Fair enough. Puka twin minion drunk. Four was affected by an evil, which is claiming that specifically 5 is a puka. That is an interesting sentence. But you are saying this way, which means this could just be evil. This could also be drunk. This could also be drunk. I mean, 1, 3, and 5. Okay, this witness is looking increasingly more suspicious by the second. What are you saying? 1, 3, and 5. If you're lying, they're all villagers. If you're telling the truth, there's an outcast. I think I just need to flip the rest of the board to get enough information. No one was corrupted around you. That implies the drunk is over here, which I kind of suspected based on this whole situation. Wait. How? This is impossible, geometrically. Okay. So yeah, this alchemist cannot be telling the truth. Oh wait, no, it is possible. If Puka drunk corrupted, then it is possible. But I really don't like the look of this alchemist, but I don't think I can stab it just yet. Okay. Let's just think about it. This, I don't think, can have been affected by a puka, because if it was hit by a puka, then, which is the only kind of evil affecting that could be happening in this village, then this has to be the puka. The problem with this being a puka and this being corrupted is that if this is lying, all characters in its info are villagers, including the pukas that would be corrupting it on either side. So this is a lie. And in fact, can I prove that this is telling the truth? No. Can I prove that this is lying? Also no. Well, okay, let's just stab the most obvious lie on the board. Well, sometimes it just works out like that. That is just objectively, well, this could be not true. Because it could be corrupted because it should say equidistant because this is the puka. But in any situation, why are you seeing no corruption? Because the only scenario in which you saw no corruption was that, yeah, for you to not see corruption, the puka had to be in specifically seat 2 adjacent to a drunk. So this is now a lie, and you can't be corrupted, so... Oh, you were lying? Oh yeah, you were lying. Oh yeah, because this is the only minion, and it wasn't in the info. Yeah, good thing I didn't stab that knight. Okay, so the alchemist was just evil. Fair enough. Lilith Puppeteer Shaman. In a huge village. So we are going to get... I think the first time in my history with this game, we're going to get a chance to make Lilith kill an evil, potentially. 3, 6, or 7, you think is evil. 3 cards away from closest evil. Which would imply that... That implies it's... I think that implies it's 5, 9, and 6 or 7. That is, okay. In order to make this hunter tell the truth, it has to be 5, 9, 8, and either 6 or 7 to make this hunter and this empress both true. And in that world, you are... Okay, these two are never telling the truth at the same time. Dizzy Confessor. Well, we know it wasn't 6. Slayer. Interesting. Plague Doctor. Oh, okay. Fair enough. We'll take those. Second Empress. With the first Empress in its information. Big sus on this now. You're corrupted. You're good. So which of these do I think? I think 9 is more likely to be... No, 9 is good if in this world. So let's try this. You did... This was evil. This was evil. Thank you, Lilith. So this was... Wait, this is either puppeteer or puppet. So then this is puppeteer. And this was, I think, yeah, this has to have been the puppet to this puppeteer. So why the hell are you lying? because you're Lilith. That is really fun. Yeah, Lilith cannot kill herself, but she can kill other evils, such as this. This was the... Wow, Lilith killed the puppet. And you have to notice the evil killed counter go up when Lilith kills. That is something you need to pay attention to. But I can't believe I actually hit the 1 corruption on the board. Oh yeah, there's only 2 worlds in which Lilith fails to kill. 1, she tries to kill herself, which she will only do if she's the final card. And 2, she tried to kill a knight, which can happen at any point. We've got a Ba, a Poisoner, and who knows? Dreamer. Wretch. Poet who is objectively true. Knight who could be corrupted. Architect saying something that is very challenging to be true. Slayer. Hunter. Well, hold up. How do I make this true? In order to make this true, it can't. This is never true. Because in order to make this true, it would have to be specifically 4 and 6. Now, the problem with it being specifically 4 and 6 is that where's the Poisoner corruption in that world? You would have to hit either 3 or 7, who are both objectively telling the truth. I think Slayer does kill the Wretch, and it does damage to you, I think. Okay, so we know this is lying, but it could be poisoned. No, because you're probably the Poisoner. Let's just try this. That doesn't surprise me. Slayer does in fact kill the Wretch and do 5 damage. Fair enough. Let's see if this Dreamer says something that... Poisoner or Ba? Well, we know they're not both... Well... This could be Ba, and this is the Poisoner. I think I'm stabbing the Knight. Oh. Okay. Problem is now we're in an actual 50-50. This was corrupted by this Poisoner. Yeah, this is a 50-50. Because either this is telling the truth, Poisoner is fake and Ba is real, or this is lying and it just is Ba. And unfortunately, there's no way... Well, hold on. No, the left side needs to not be more evil, so it is the Dreamer. Never mind, it wasn't a 50-50. Ignore me. I just forgot about this Architect somehow. Okay, we got a bugged puzzle. Oh boy. This is gonna be spicy. We have 4 real outcasts, I think. And a Puka, and a Chancellor, and a Rambler, a Bombardier, a Wretch, and a Lycanthrope. Which means, of course, Night Cycle, because Lycanthrope. Bombardier. 4 or... Well, hold up. How much true information are we gonna have here? Like, none. Dreamer. Who's gonna get refunded, so let's just try this. Bombardier or Lycanthrope. So I think you're just telling the truth, because... Yeah, in fact, yeah, you are telling the truth unless this is not a Bombardier, but I think these are both good. This, I can't say anything about. All I can say is that this is not a Lycanthrope. Left side is more evil. That seems reasonable. Slayer. Rambler. Baker correctly telling 6 to shut up. And Wretch. And we do have a werewolf. Had 5 real outcasts, 2 of which were real doppelgangers. That's how, yeah, that's how bugged Chancellor is. And in my previous stream yesterday, I had 3 different 4 outcast villages. So, well, hold up. This is always real. This has to be telling the truth, and this is real. I'm running out of things that can be evil. Youth, I don't think 4 actually could be a Chancellor. If this is a werewolf. Which means its ability is not gonna work, so let's just try that. Yeah. Oh, but you're telling 6 to shut up. I don't actually know how this interaction works, though. This could also all be evil. This could be a fake Rambler. Chancellor or Slayer? How are you saying Chancellor or Slayer? Werewolf, because this is not a Rambler? I think because this is not a Rambler. I'm going to stab the Rambler. Chancellor. Which means this is not a Slayer because it's a werewolf. Yep. Which means this is good. Means I think this has to be the Puka because it's next to a lying Chancellor. Yes. So we actually had 3 outcasts. Look, I don't know. It's just... look, this was claiming to be a Rambler. Therefore, these all have to be on the same team if they're telling it to shut up. And this Rambler was evil, which means that this was lying. And there was the only reason it would be lying is if it was corrupted by a Puka, which it couldn't be. Also, like, the Puka had to be over there because there was no other way for the Dreamer to be telling the truth. Okay, here we have a Puka and a Rambler, which is an interesting combination. 7's a real architect, who claims that the Puka is on the left side. 1 is evil, 4, 5, or 7. Those are, in fact, all on... These are, in fact, both on the left side. Who did I steal brain cells from? I don't know. I just woke up like this. Slayer. Have not seen a Rambler yet. There's a Rambler. There's a witness correctly telling number 4 to shut up. And in fact, this has to be good, because demons cannot disguise as outcasts. And if this has to be good, then this has to be good. And true. So in order for this to be true... would be this. Well, this actually... Hold up. Okay. Thank you, Slayer. Very cool. I was trying to make this Empress true, and the only way to make this Empress true, with this Rambler being here, was if this was evil. And then I noticed that if this was evil, this is what it would say if it was next to a Puka. So I went for it, and it was right. Puka Bombardier. Interesting. Also a tiny village. Jester. Hunter who claims the Puka is in specifically seat 5. Bombardier, who is never the Puka. This is what you would say if there was a Puka in seat 5. That is impossible. Which is what you would say if you were a Puka in seat 5. You are dizzy. That is what you would say if you were corrupted by a Puka in seat 5. I'm going to gesture check this side of the board. It should see 0. I think this is just a Puka in seat 5. Yeah, it is. Thank you, Hunter. Puka Lycanthrope in a 7 village. Original Baker. Huge. There was 1 corruption around you. That is an interesting thing to be saying. Closest evil clockwise. That is what you would say if you were if there was a Puka here that then cured this because of the alchemist. Fortune teller. We have yet to see where the baker ended up. Puka is 3 away from closest evil. That is objectively false, which is what you would say if this was a Puka that corrupted you. Jester. And that's where the baker ended up, so this has to be good. Because the baker had to bakerify something. And it also makes complete sense to be claiming a hunter here. So let's try that. You think there's 2 evils. Wait, and how was there 1 corruption around you? Because you can reach this. This is the Puka, which is why it's lying. This is corrupted, which is why it's lying. And then this got cured, so it will see false here. Correct. Because this is the Puka. No. Because... No, this is telling the truth. Because this is the Puka, and this was not a hunter. Why are you not corrupted? Why is that baker not corrupted? Huh? Oh, this was the corruption. It can reach all the way over here. Wait. My bad. I was so fixated on the alchemist reaching this way, I forgot it can reach this way. Whoops. Puka Wretch. We're getting a lot of small Puka villages. Between 2 and 6, there's villager and minion. Well, that's very easy to disprove if there's no Wretch among these 2 cards. And it's very easy to prove if there is Wretch among those 2 cards. Which means this is a villager, but it could be corrupted. Except it's objectively true, because it's pointing at an evil. Which means this is also good, but it could be corrupted. It can't be corrupted. Which means one of these is the Puka, and the other was the corruption that the alchemist cured. That looks very Puka to me. Yep. Easy puzzle? Come on, this is endless mode. Give me something hard. Lilith's Twin Minion Plague Doctor, which means we do have Knight. Plague Doctor. 5 or 8 is a Twin Minion. Knight, who I'm not going to stab because they could be corrupted. Judge. Well, we know 5 wasn't the Twin Minion. You think 3, 5, or 7 is evil? You think 3 or 5 is a Twin Minion. I think you are a Twin... Oh, actually, hold up. It could be 3. And then this is lying. Wait, no, this can't be the Twin Minion, because this can't be Lilith. That is an exceptionally believable alchemist. Okay. I'm gonna try this. 2 is evil, 3 is corrupted. I'm gonna trust you. Oh. Well, you're immediately lying. You are telling the truth. This is the corruption, which makes you telling the truth. And that makes you very clearly lying. In a double claim with your own minion. Okay. What was this? Poet. Wow. I was about to say, I don't think this is a real Plague Doctor. I think the real Plague Doctor's in seat 5. But no, this just was a real Plague Doctor. Fair enough. Okay, Lilith, Chancellor, Puppeteer, who did make a puppet. Plague Doctor, Wretch. Left side more evil, that's what I really like to see on a first flip. 1 is a real architect. That is what you would say either way. Chancellor is 1 card away from the closest evil. That seems exceptionally likely. Wretch, who is always good. That is always good. Honestly, it kind of feels like this could just be the entire evil team. Architect who's agreeing with the other one on a board we should not have a double claim in. Oh, I was about to say we don't have a Plague Doctor. We do have a Plague Doctor. Knight, who I really do not trust. 6 or 7 is a puppet. Whoops. Sorry. Usually when you see an oracle calling itself a puppet, it is like 99% of the time a puppet. So I just, I got a little trigger happy. But that means this is the puppeteer. That means this is a lie, but it could be because of a Plague Doctor. In fact, this is a Plague Doctor. This cannot be the Chancellor because it would be true. Which means I think this has to be the Chancellor, actually. Yep. So now we have a slight problem. This is the 50-50. This has become a 50-50. Because... Wait, no. Never mind. You're corrupted by the Plague Doctor. You're Lilith. Phew. We had... That was scarier than I thought it was. I apologize, Oracle. When you call yourself a puppet, you really look like a puppet. But I lived, somehow. Oh god, Puka Minion Witch Plague Doctor. Confessor who is dizzy. Jester. Between 3, 9, and 10. Well, let's review. You're in your own information. So these are probably all villagers. Dreamer? No. That, you are telling the truth because you're pointing at something that's claiming to be an outcast. It means one of these is evil. And in fact, I think it means specifically this dreamer is evil. That is an extremely powerful bishop. Keep flipping. 6 is a real lover. Well, you would say that. This too could be Yuri in some other timeline. No evils adjacent. That seems possible. There was 1 corruption around me. That would be Plague Doctor or Puka. Second Dreamer. Okay. So I'm going to stab the Dreamer in seat 9. It's the Witch. Minion or Witch, which you would say because you're lying and neither of those roles are here. So I think that kind of just confirms these are both good. It also confirms that this Plague Doctor is real. Oh, but I shouldn't mark these as green. Because, well, no, this I think has to be green. This could easily be corrupted. This could very easily be a puka. Check this. You're going to say false. Which is what you would say if you were evil. It's also what you would say if this was a puka. I think I'm going to do this again. Minion or lover? Hold up. We know that neither minion nor witch is here. We also... But that implies you're telling the truth. How are you telling the truth? Because this is actually just... Hold up. Okay. I was about to say I think I can get a Jester 3, but I can't. I think... Yeah, one... Yep. Puka. Yep. This is corrupted, which means its information is as good as useless. I don't know where the Plague Doctor corruption landed, but it just over here somewhere, and the alchemist cured it. Which means I think it might just be 8. If this says 2, then it says 0. Okay, that's not helpful. Am I addicted now? A little. Okay, it was just 8. And then this dreamer was telling the truth, and so was everything in this side of the board. I'm a little addicted to this game. In my defense, it's really goddamn fun. Oh, good. Oh, this is interesting. Ba puppeteer minion, but not puppet. We have a puppeteer who could not create a puppet. 2 cards away from a corrupted character. That implies Plague Doctor or Drunk. Or evil. 2 pairs of evil. That might have to be true. That becomes a lot more likely with a wretch. Yeah, Puppeteer hits 1 adjacent villager. Which means there was no adjacent villager for it to hit. Wait a minute. This is a wretch, which is always good, which means this is a wretch, which means this is never telling the truth or corrupted. Goodbye. Two is a real knitter. So here's something funny. This knitter could actually be evil. This knitter could be our puppeteer who failed to create a puppet. Because that would mean evil, 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 evil. That is very possible, and I kind of want to stab it for the aura points, but I'm not going to. You're saying the truth. Okay, the evil chain can't be this long. Between 2 and 3, they're... Okay, 2 is actually good. Which I think means that... Yeah, I think it has to be these two. But let's keep flipping. Right side more evil. That is objectively true. That is what you would say if you were a minion adjacent to a puppeteer who couldn't create a puppet. That is what you would say if you were a puppeteer who is adjacent to 2 evils and couldn't create a puppet. Yeah. Okay, it was just that. I was really... just imagine the world where it was these four. That would have been really funny. Okay, Okay, we've got another one of these bugged Chancellor puzzles. So we've got Lilith, Chancellor, Plague Doctor, Doppelganger, Wrangler, and Lycanthrope, which means we have nighttime possibly twice. Well, this is going to be awful. 9 is actually a Lycanthrope. I'm going to trust you. So that should have prevented us from getting a werewolf, hopefully. Assuming 1 is telling the truth. Well, one of you is lying. And I think it's this one. Plague Doctor. Fortune Teller. Rambler. Interesting. Yeah, one of these is objectively lying. Which means there is an evil... Oh, no. This could be Doppelganger, real but corrupted by Plague Doctor, who is also real. Okay, these are both correct. These are both telling 6 to shut up. And we know 6 is good, which means we know these are both telling the truth. How far can the Alchemist reach? This far. Okay, I want to use this. What's 2 things we know are good? I don't know this Plague Doctor is good, but it's probably good. You're going to say true. That makes me a little sus. And we do... Okay. We do not have a werewolf, which means I think these 2 are just telling the truth and this is lying. And it's not corrupted because it's the Chancellor. Do we have corruption? We have no corruption, actually. So I'm going to just stab... Well, no, that's a Lycanthrope. We know it's a Lycanthrope, so there's no need to stab it, because I think it might die, and I'm not sure. You think counterclockwise. That is very challenging, so I think you are just Lilith. You are corrupted. Thank you, Plague Doctor. Very cool. Well, hold on. Let's pick something we know is evil. You think false? Okay, it's you. Whew. They changed it in the last patch. Lycan Knights cannot die? Okay. And again, we had 4 real outcasts. That is super fun, though. Like, I want to see something that actually... I want to see this kind of puzzle, but, like, it's supposed to happen, and it's not the Chancellor freaking the hell out. Because these are really fun puzzles with this many outcasts. Got Ba, Twin Minion, and who knows? Dreamer. Well, we know it's not a Lycanthrope this time. Right side is more evil, says this architect. Can I get some actual information that's not a target ability? That is a very bold thing for this hunter to be saying. It's kind of directly accusing this judge. I respect that. Plague Doctor. Which has to be good. Bishop, which has to be good. And in fact, 3 is evil. Confessor, who is good. I kind of like the idea that it's 4. It was just 4. And the Dreamer was corrupted. Who knew? Oh, good lord. We've got another one of these. So we do have nighttime, which means we do have a Lycanthrope. We've also got a Puka, a Minion, a Chancellor, the Lycanthrope, Doppelganger, and Plague Doctor. 2 is a real hunter. I'm gonna not flip 2 over. Plague Doctor. 1 is good. Plague Doctor. I can do better than that. I can always check you on each other, but I'm gonna flip more things over first. Okay, so this is now post-lycanthrope information. It is also just lying information. Nine is good, you say. Dreamer. Dreamer. Alchemist claiming no corruption. I like the idea that Puka corrupted, not an alchemist. Oh yeah, that's a good point. And flipped lycanthrope. Thank you for pointing that out. I was not paying attention. I would have noticed that eventually. Wait, so that means the lycanthrope is specifically 1 or 3 is the lycanthrope. Okay. Puka corrupted. Wait, but no, one of these... Okay, one of these plague doctors I think has to be evil. No, I can't use that logic. 1 or 4. I do mean 1 or 4. My bad. I don't know what numbers are. My bad. For all I know, these plague doctors could both be real. In fact, I'm just going to plague doctor check. You think that plague doctor is corrupted? I think you are evil. That is the Chancellor next to the lycanthrope, which means this is an out-of-play character. That is interesting. So this is a lie. Here's my idea. Puka, corrupted, minion, and I've run out of liars. Plague Doctor corruption. Doppelganger pair. Real. Oh no, lycanthrope. Six is not corrupted. And we know this plague doctor is real. Well, we actually don't know this plague doctor is real. These dreamers are presumably both real. So let's try them on this. Hunter or Chancellor? Well, we know Chancellor is not there, which means Hunter might also not be there. Let's see if you back that up. Chancellor or Plague Doctor? That is true. This could be lycanthrope. This could be doppelganger pair. That is a very good thing to point out. But one thing I know is that this hunter is definitely lying. And it is statistically unlikely. But these dreamers both make it... Okay, combining both of these dreamers. Dreamer in seat 8 says Hunter or Chancellor. We know Chancellor is the fake one, which implies Hunter is real. You say Chancellor or Plague Doctor. Okay, so this is a real Plague Doctor, and this is telling the truth. Well, no, this could be lying. Let me try to make a world in which both of these dreamers are evil. No, there's simply not or lying, rather. And to that I say there's simply not enough evil. There's simply not enough lies. So we'd have to have exactly the minion and the puka, but then this is lying. Or no, it isn't. Minion Puka. Good, good. Let me think. Minion Puka. Good, good. But then this has to not be a Plague Doctor, which can't happen. So this one is definitely good. This one could be lying if this is a Puka. Puka Minion. That's the wrong button. Corrupted, corrupted. Then what did the Plague Doctor hit? Puka corrupted, Minion, Plague Doctor. But then why are you lying? Puka Minion in some configuration. Plague Doctor. Wait, but then you would have cured it. Six can't be because I checked 6 with the Plague Doctor. That's what I thought, was that the Plague Doctor hit 6, but the Plague Doctor is saying 6 is not corrupted, and we know this is a real Plague Doctor. There's simply not enough liars for this to not be a Plague Doctor. Okay, so if there was no corruption around you... Okay. Where did the Plague Doctor corrupt? Hold up. That is a very good question. What did this Plague Doctor actually corrupt? It has to be in range of this alchemist. Okay, new plan. Puka Minion Plague Doctor corrupted. But then you're lying. Or you're lying and telling the truth. But you're a lycanthrope, which is why you couldn't get corrupted. And then you are corrupted. But no, then you're telling the truth again. Unless we have 2 lycanthrope, but we don't have any werewolves. Nothing's adding up in this puzzle. Does this have to be telling the truth? Oh, wait, no, this is the doppelganger. This is the doppelganger, which is why it's telling the truth. Okay, this is actually a possibility. This works. Lycanthrope, which is why it's not corrupted. Doppelganger, which is why it's not corrupted. Puka, who's lying because the Plague Doctor hit this. I think it's this. Minion. Wait. This still works. Because now this is the lycanthrope, which is how this is disguising. This is the doppelganger, which is why it's not corrupted. Chancellor needs to be... Oh yeah, Chancellor needs to be next to an outcast. Good point. Which is why this is the lycanthrope. Okay. Wow, that was a hard puzzle. That was really hard, because the Puka didn't corrupt anything. I was trying to find a Puka the whole time. There was only one corruption, and it was from the Plague Doctor. Oh my god, that was hard. And again, 3 real outcasts. Okay, I gotta say, Uzabi, developer of this game, if you are listening to me, you gotta add something that makes this real. You gotta add something that actually makes this many outcasts. These are way too fun. That, like, kind of like how the Puka is like a super poisoner. We need like a super Chancellor demon that creates several outcasts that like actually does this, because this is extremely fun. There is a relic that adds an outcast. I do know that. But unfortunately, they removed advanced mode, and I can't play that with relics. I really want to be playing with relics right now in advanced mode, but I just can't. Okay, we've got Puka, Witch, and Wretch. Knight who can't die. I'm not testing that theory with my knife right now. Slayer. Lover who says 1. Judge. Can I get some real information, please? Dizzy Confessor. That's close enough. Deck building mode does still have relics, but deck building mode also has a bug that makes it completely trivial and not fun. So 3 or 4 is a witch. It could be 3. But then why are you lying? Wretch? Okay. I think I need to use this judge. What do I use this on? Oh, hold up. Here's the real question. Where do I put a Puka on this board? Five could be a Puka. 5 could be a... That's the wrong button. 5 could be a Puka. Corrupting this, which makes both of these good. And then it's the Slayer is the Witch. This works. Let me write this down. Did I mean to mark Judge's orange? I did. Because it's corrupted by this Puka. And then that makes the Knight good. Well, let's see. Where else can we put a Puka? This could also be a Puka. In fact, let's just go around the board and try and make every card the Puka. Can this be a Puka? Would corrupt these. This could be evil to make that. This could then be evil as the witch. Or good with this as the witch. But then why are you dizzy? This doesn't work because there's no reason for that confessor to be dizzy. Yeah, Knight is not the Puka. I'm going to mark that as green. It could still be the witch, but I'm going to mark it as green because I've tested it as not the Puka. Actually, no, I'm going to be getting rid of these marks. Okay, so you. What if you're the Puka? You'd be corrupting these. Now, in order for this to be corrupted, this has to be evil. In order for this to be corrupted in the line. Oh, actually, no, this could be evil, but we run into the same problem either way, which is, why is this confessor lying? So it's not the Slayer. Yes, if I stab the Knight and it's corrupted, it does 9 damage. And I kind of don't want to do that. Could this be the Puka? This could very easily be the Puka. I think. No, it can't, because once again, why is this confessor dizzy? Because in order for... Well, hold up. This is a lie. I can make this confessor dizzy this time by putting the witch here. The The problem with that is now this is lying. So this is not the puka. Can this be the puka? This is actually the exact same situation we ran into with the slate. Well, no, it isn't actually. We get evil, corrupted, evil, corrupted. But then it's the same situation with the lever. Because now if we try to make 4 the puka, then 2 has to be the witch. And then why is this saying this? We already tested if this was the puka. Let's check if this is the puka. That makes this corrupted. And then we actually don't have enough information to really test this theory. The minion could be any of these 3 could be the minion. Now, there is one thing I've learned from all of this. I don't think this knight can ever be corrupted. There is actually one more thing I need to check. If this is the puka, that would corrupt this. But I think this is the same as every other situation where we put the puka anywhere over here. How do we make both of these true? We just can't. There's no possible way for both of these informations to happen if the puka's way over here. So this knight is never corrupted. And okay, the knight's good. The knight is simply good. Now, this is actually the only possibility I found that like completely adds up. No, it isn't, because yeah, this could be the puka. Wait, no, if this is the puka, then both of these are good, and this is evil. Okay, hold up. This is big, actually. This is another possibility. Now, there is something interesting about this. That's that the Slayer is always evil. And I think I can just stab this Slayer in that case. Slayer is the witch, which I think had to always be the case. 1, 6, or 7. That is true, which means this is good, which means this just is the puka. Wow. That was a tough one. That took a lot of thinking. Got puka, puppeteer, minion, and we do have a puppet. This is probably going to be the last one for today. Dreamer. Druid. Plague Doctor, can I please get some information? Well, that's a lie. That is challenging, but it could be true. If this is specifically the Plague Doctor has to have hit this. Or this. In order for this Plague Doctor to be true, or for this Hunter to be true, the Plague Doctor has to have hit the Poet. You're dizzy. That seems exceptionally plausible. That seems quite challenging. And second Druid. I think I want to just Druid check themselves. You see no outcasts. You see a Plague Doctor. So I think I can just stab this. Puppeteer. Which means this Dreamer is a puppet. That is very interesting. I'll mark the puppet like that. I don't want to stab it just yet. Now, I gotta say, this really looks like a puka, if you ask me. This looks quite a lot like a puka. Six is evil. Hold up. I mean, you have to be real, so... Minion. This could still be a puka. That would make this true. That would not make this true. But the Plague Doctor could be involved there. I'm gonna try this. Puka or Confessor? Well... There we go. That was a really underwhelming final puzzle, though. I want to do one more. Lilith, Shaman, Poisoner, Lycanthrope. Good lord. Okay, this is going to be a good final puzzle, probably. Which means we do have nighttime. 7 is actually a Lycanthrope. Please be true. Three away from a corrupted character. That is possible. I don't have any activate abilities to use, so let's just do this. Lilith is going to kill number 6, who is good. We are going to have enough flips to see if this is true. Between 2, 7, and 9. Who knows? No evils adjacent. That is possible. 3 away from a or 2 away from a corrupted character. You are... This is... Okay. This bard and this poet have conflicting information. This bard is claiming the poet is corrupted. The poet is claiming that this is corrupted, presumably by this poisoner. So these two are kind of accusing each other in a weird way. Second poet, which could be real, who is also 3 away from a corrupted character. Why are you both pointing at this being corrupted? I'm starting to think this is a poisoner. I only took 2 damage, so you are presumably true. You are presumably true. Okay, so this poet and this bard are both claiming... Not only are they both claiming... I think they're both trying to tell me that this is corrupted. Presumably by this. Now, that is possible. But in order for this to be the case, then this also has to be evil. Which would make all of these good. But the problem with trying to make these both good is that now where do we put Lilith? If this is good and we're saying this is the corruption, Lilith would have to be 1, 2. Lilith would have to be... Okay, that's interesting. So this is not the solution. It is very interesting that these two are both pointing... Well, hold up. No, I can't say the poets have to be the shaman pair because what the other half of the shaman pair can always be this. Well, no, I think these two, I think we can confirm. Because it didn't flip. It didn't do 1 more damage. So we don't have a werewolf. Okay, let's try and make this real. Wait a minute. This is pointing at the lycanthrope. Presumably. I'm gonna mark that that's the lycanthrope. That means that between 2 and 9, there is a minion. This seems very minion. This does not seem very believable. I have nothing to work with here. I just have to go through characters and try and find out if they're... Well, hold up. This is nonsense. I think this might just be evil. Poisoner poisoned. Evil, evil. True. True. Hold up, this works. And where's the shaman pair? Here. I think I'm gonna try stabbing the bard. Bard is real. This might be it. Wait, if Bard is real, and we know this is real, then I think Scout has to be... Poisoner. Poisoning this. To make this true. Okay. Which means I think this actually is the shaman pair, but you are not 2 cards away from a corrupted character. There's only one corrupted character, and it's either here or here, no matter what, so... Shaman. And then this is Lilith. Because it's lying, and again, the corruption is up here. Holy shit. Okay, yep, and here was another bard to make up the actual shaman pair. Wow. That was a really hard one. Wow. We kept the streak going. Somehow, some way. Wow. I apologize for accusing you of being evil, Bard. Oh, wow. Yeah. Anytime you have Lilith and Shaman, you're in for a tricky puzzle, just because you can never confirm the Shaman pair. But that is going to be all that I have time for today. I'm going to hop out and hop over. Oh, that's really funny. Hold up. Let me get rid of that. I didn't notice that this was still there. Sorry, I threw this scene together like right before the stream. But that's going to do it for today. I'm hopping over here. And I'm going to, what do you mean ping over here? Ping over here as well? 2 pings even. Thank you, Pineapple, for getting the exclamation mark socials. Of course, if you want to keep up with all of my shenanigans, including my ongoing ARG, you're going to want to check out all of my socials in that card. That site will have everywhere I am active, just about. PeerTube crew stream will just be ending. Twitch crew, I'm going to be finding somebody to raid. I don't know who yet. But I'm looking for somebody. Good lord, did I really stream that long? Wow, I did. That did not feel like it was that long. I kind of love this game, actually. But this is a bit of a blind spot in my my raid targets, because none of them are live. None of my usual raid targets are live, rather. But, oh wait, no, never mind. You're live. Yeah, these streams fly by. This game is super fun. Which is why, I mean, can you tell? It's because I played it 3 times in a row. All right. Twitch crew, I will be sending you over to Flora, who is currently doing some art. I hope you enjoy her stream, and I am going to go make some food and hopefully see y'all tomorrow. Hopefully. Who knows?